Welcome to Daily Wisdom, where every single day we seek to take a piece of God's wisdom and apply it to our everyday life. We've been following along and learning about Jesus in the Essential Jesus Reading Plan found in the Bible app. If you're interested in following along, there's all sorts of details you can look at inside the links in the description below this video here on YouTube. Today we are picking up with our reading in the book of 1 Kings. This is a narrative about the history of the people of Israel, and we've been seeing how Jesus continuously ties back to this history, this deep history for the Hebrew people, and how he applies this history to his context and what he's experiencing and trying to express to the people of Israel during his own day. And we see today in our reading in 1 Kings chapter 8 that King Solomon had just constructed a temple so that the Spirit of God could dwell among the people of Israel, among God's chosen people. His Spirit, His presence could be there with them. Let's jump into 1 Kings chapter 8. We're picking up with verse 10. It says this: "When the priests withdrew from the holy place, the cloud filled the temple of the Lord. And the priests could not perform their service because of the cloud, for the glory of the Lord filled his temple. Then Solomon said, 'The Lord has said that he would dwell in a dark cloud. I have indeed built a magnificent temple for you, a place for you to dwell forever.' While the whole assembly of Israel was standing there, the king turned around and blessed them." Some beautiful imagery is recorded for us in this chapter. This 1 Kings chapter 8 imagery is absolutely astonishing. I can't imagine what it must have looked like for the people of Israel to witness the Spirit of God as this dark cloud completely enveloped the temple. This thick cloud that was so intense that it says the priests had to evacuate the building to make way for the presence of God as it just consumed that temple. And Solomon is quick to point to the fact that he did this for God's glory. He didn't build the temple to draw attention to himself. He built it to honor God so that God's presence could be among his people. I don't know if you know this, but Jesus points to this exact same event. Just as he pointed to a previous event in yesterday's reading, he points to this event in a part of today's reading as well. But the one I want to draw your attention to today is in John chapter 2. What's happening in John chapter 2 is Jesus is very upset with the commercialization of the temple. There's all sorts of financial activity happening, buying and selling of things, buying and selling of animals for sacrifice, money changers to convert currency, and all sorts of activity happening at the temple that is not directed toward God. And this upsets Jesus greatly. He says in verse 16, "To those who sold doves, get these out of here. Stop turning my Father's house into a market." And so he's extremely upset at the people who are in the Temple Mount area and selling and buying, and the commercialization of the whole thing just frustrates with him. I can't imagine what it must have looked like to have been there to watch Jesus get this angry. And so the people around start gathering around him, and they ask him, "What authority do you have to be taking such action like this, to be going after all these people? Who has given you this authority?" And Jesus responds with this: "Destroy this temple, and I will raise it again in 3 days." The people reply to him, "It has taken 46 years to build this temple, and you're about to raise it in 3 days?" But the temple he had spoken of was his body. Jesus was pointing to a new temple, a temple that was going to be destroyed and then raised from the dead, being his own body, so that God's presence would no longer require a facility to dwell among his people, so that we could be restored in our relationship with God, so that we would no longer need another space to worship and engage our Heavenly Father. Jesus allowed the presence of God to dwell directly among us. And that's good for us to remember as we start our day today. that God's presence is with us at all times. Sometimes we can get in such a routine of worship. And what I mean is our church experience and the way we express ourselves spiritually, the way we conduct our faith, the way we manage our spiritual experience can put us in a routine to the point where we think we can only worship God when we're around other Christians in a group experience and in a Bible study, or when we're at church actually attending a worship service. And our experience with God is so much greater than that. It's good for us to remember that God's presence is always with us. And no matter where we are and who we're with, we can worship Him. We can connect with God in our car during our commute. We can connect with God at a quiet moment at our desk in the office. We can connect with God in the quietness of a walk in the park or in our beds before our head hits the pillow. And so remember that as you begin your day. So that's our daily wisdom for today. If today's video encouraged you, hit that thumbs up button. That'll help others to see it. And if you haven't subscribed to our channel, please consider doing so. That'll make sure that you don't miss a single moment in daily wisdom when we try to apply God's wisdom to our everyday life. We'll see you tomorrow.